All right, welcome to our lesson on translations, one of the several transformations of a shape. Again, remember when you do the different transformations, first one we did was reflections, so we did a flipping motion. Today we'll be doing a translation, which means it's a sliding motion. We have a rotation, which is a turning motion. And then last but not least, we also have a dilation, which means we shrink or enlarge a shape. So those are different ways you can deal with a shape on what's called a plane, a infinite four-sided object that, like a piece of paper or a tabletop or something like that. Those are all the different things we can do to a shape. We can flip it, we can slide it, we can shrink it and enlarge it, and what else did I say? And rotate it and turn it. All right, so today we're doing a sliding motion. So that's actually the first thing in here. To vertically and or horizontally slide a figure. So we're going to move it, and we're going to move it again. We're on the graph paper, or we're on the what's called the coordinate plane, the XY plane, if you want to call it. So when we slide a figure, we're either going to slide it in, we're going to slide it in the X and the Y direction. Sometimes we can just slide it in the X direction, which is left and right, the Y direction up and down, and sometimes if we, in the end, it looks like we've slid it diagonally, we've actually moved it in the X direction and the Y direction. All right, so the symbolic form looks like this. We start off with our original shape, and as we move towards our translation, we're going to tell the reader what to do with the shape. Now we notice I added some more letters in here, H and K. The H represents the left slash right shift, okay, or slide. And K is the up down. And why is that? Because in math, for some reason, some person back either hundreds or however many years ago decided H was going to be moving in the X direction and K moves things in the Y direction um, to where it starts. So this says, hey, start here, start there. So this might be an ordered pair. And then it says, I want you to shift it so much in the X direction and so much in the Y direction. So we're going to do what happens when they're plus, their additions, what happens when they're subtractions, how does that affect things. So for the sake of time, I've already put my shapes in, my original shapes in. You do need, for full credit, to be able to get full credit for this. You have to be able to, you have to draw the shapes. Just don't give me the final results here. Put the shape and then put its final result in. For this, like I said, for the sake of time, I've already put my shape in. All right, so the easiest way to kind of do this is we look at our shape, we look at our ordered pairs, we're going to follow this rule, we're going to write, following our rule, the answers to this, and then plot the points. That's usually the easiest way to go around on that. All right, so what does this say? This says take every ordered pair, x comma y, which is the q, the r, the s, and the t, and shift x 5 units. That means we're going to the right. So this is going to the right 5 units. Okay, and then y, since y travels up and down, since it's a plus, we're going to travel up 7. Okay, so that means we have to take all of our points and add, we have to add 5 to this one and add 7 to that one. So if I add 5 to -6, I get -1. If I add 7 to 1, -1, I get 6. And I just go through the process. -3 plus 5 is 2. 7 plus 1 is 8. Next one. 1 plus 5 is 6. -5 plus 7 is +2. Last one, -2 plus 5 is 3, and -7 plus 7 is 0. All right, so once we've done all that math, we then get to just plot these points, and then we'll be done. So Negative 1, 6 goes right here. So that's Q with a little prime next to it. Your little marks. 2, 8. 2, 1, 2, 8's all the way at the top there. Oops, I think I did positive 1. Whoops. And I can't change that video, but here you go. Q's there. Started to say they didn't look like they were that far apart. That's how come I knew I made a mistake. Okay, so that's, sorry about that. Hopefully you didn't put it in pen like I did. All right, so I noticed as soon as I put the Q in, I put the R in, I'm like, hey, that's not as far apart as these two are. So that's why I knew I made a mistake. See, these two, again, since we're sliding, these two distances between Q and R and Q prime and R prime need to be the same. That's how I know if I've made a mistake. That's how you'll know when you go to plot them if you've made your numbers, got your numbers correct as well. All right, so let's check it out. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 2. Okay, that's S, and then T is 3, 0. Okay, and that looks like it's the same far apart than this one is. Okay, and then I just finish up my box. And I'm done. Okay, so I've slid, and if you want, again, if you're given the picture and need to find the rule, which we'll do in a minute, you just have to figure out how far did I have to take S to get it all the way over to this S. And that's how you can do the ones we'll get to them. All right, so here's a rhombus. I don't necessarily have to spend all the time in the video putting the shapes in, but I want you to. So I will do the ordered pair, and then the rest of the video I want you to put the final answer in. And so on the notes, in order to get full credit, I want to see the image and its pre-image on every one of these problems. Okay, but for the sake of time, so the videos aren't super long, I'm just going to find the ordered pairs and keep going. All right, so I just want to do some examples of what happens when you have some mixed ones, like some minus and plus and minus and minus. So that's what I'm going to do. All right, so again, this says I'm going to add 2 to the x coordinate, and I'm going to subtract 2 to the y coordinate. So I'll add 2 to this. So adding 2 to negative 4 is negative 2. Subtracting 2 from 7 is 5. 0, I add 2 to that, that's 2. And I subtract 2, that's 6. Negative 1 plus 2 is 1. 4 minus 2 is 2. Negative 5 plus 2 is negative 3. And 3 minus 2 is 1. All right, so then I would just plot these 4 points, which you're going to do, and I'm saying that on the video, so you're hearing it. You need to take these 4 points, plot them, and it should look like the object has shifted to the 2 units to the right and 2 units down because the y is going down. All right. I don't know. For the sake of time, I'm going to skip to actually number 5. But you do the same process. Again, in this case, you're going to the left. This is going left 1 unit. And then this one's going down 5. Okay, that's what it'll look like when you're done. So your whole shape should have shifted to the left and then down. Okay, when you're done. But again, you have got to do all the math on that. Does most at death, whatever you need to do. All right, so number 7 says write a rule describing the translation. All right, so all I have to do is pick a point that I can read. So let's say I want to take that point, and I'm going to go to its image. So the pre-image of D and then the image of D. How did I get there? That's how I write the rule. So you start off putting x comma y leads to, and then you're going to kind of leave yourself some space. Put the x and the y in, and then tell me how I got from this shape to this one. Well, I know since I shifted to the right, I know this is going to be a plus. And I know I shifted the whole shape up, so in y's, that's also a plus. I just have to figure out how many boxes. So to go to, let's go up first. Just be careful because when I'm going up, that means I'm going to do the y. So here I go. 1, 2, 3, 4, it looks like. Okay, so let me just do that. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so I'm equal to that D. Okay, so I went up 4 units, so let me put that on the Y. And then I'm going to go over, looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I went 7 to the right. Okay, and there's my rule. Okay, so here you can just kind of get an idea. This shifted up, which means it went the positive in the Y direction, but it shifted to the left. So that means X is going to be negative. So if I were to do this one, X is going in the negative direction, so that's going to be a minus, and Y is going up, so it's a positive direction. And then I just have to figure out how many units it took to get there. Now again, the P's look like they're the clearest to read, so that's what I would do. So it looks like I go 1, 2, 3, 4 in the X direction. And I've already got the minus and plus there, so I just have to count boxes. And then I have to go up, looks like 2. And I'm done. That's how that works. Okay, 9 and 11. What I wanted to do was I drew my shapes in just so I can kind of talk about how to do this. All right, so your responsibility is to put the original in and then figure out how to do this and put its final result on the graph paper. All right, so the idea here is it's, and I'm going to change color on this. It wants you to do two things. So its final things, since you've been practicing reflections, it decided to put reflections in and translations on the same problem. So reflections in the x-axis means here's my mirror, and I have to reflect everything over it. So what we learned was in the last thing was if you're flipping over the x-axis, what happens to the x? Nothing. The x value doesn't change, but the y value changes from a positive to a negative. So in this case, x changed, stayed the same, but y changed sign. All right? So this is saying I got to change my y's to their opposites. And then when I get done with that, I have to follow this rule. Okay? So here's my rule for the reflection. Again, every y value. So like if I were to read this point right here, this is -2, 1. But if I flip it over here, then it's -2, -1. So the y coordinates on all these points are changing to their opposites when you flip over the x-axis. Okay? So like if I were to put a reflection just like that point with this is y prime. Okay, now you can kind of see. I don't want to put too much in there because my final answer is something different. So I don't really mean to put this in. So I'm going to take that out for right now. But that's what this point looks like. Okay, if I could erase it, I would, but I can't. All right, so what you're going to do is follow these rules right one after the other with each one of these points. So it looks like I take -3 and I do nothing with it, and then I add 9 to it. So -3 plus 9 is 6. So that's the final x coordinate for this first point. Y says take y, change it to its sign, so it's now -7, and add 2, which is -5. Okay? I'll go through each one of these slowly. All right, the next coordinate, -2. Put -2 in here. Don't change -2, it says. Then I take my answer and I go -2 plus 9 is 7. Okay. My y values, of course, are the ones that a little bit more work. Okay. My y value, 1 comes in, changes it to -1, and then -1 gets put in here, plus 2. -1 plus 2 is 1. Okay. Last one, z, -5. -5 comes in, -5 stays the same. Then I come down here and do -5 plus 9, which is 4. Okay. Y comes in, 2 comes in here, changes it to -2, and then -2 added 2 to it makes this 0. And so when I get done, I'm going to plot these, and hopefully I've flipped it over the x-axis and I've slid it. That's the whole idea. All right, so 4, let's go 6, negative 5. 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, negative 5. I think that's right there. So that's x prime. Okay, 7, 1 is here. That's y prime. And then 4, 0 is right here at Z. Okay, and again, you notice the size didn't change. It wasn't supposed to, but it has flipped over. So this had flipped over and then slid. Okay, so that's the final result. I'm going to go over the math again with this, but not just for the sake of time. We're already into close to 16 minutes, so I'm going to just do the math again. All right, so this time we're going to reflect over the y-axis. So that means if I flip that, I'm flipping points over the y-axis. Now the y values aren't changing, but the x values are changing sign. So like if I were to flip this over to here, this is negative 2, 7, and this is 2, 7. So this time, a reflection says take that and change the x value to its opposite. All right, so first thing this thing tells us to do is we're going to translate first, then bring it in here, and it looks like keep the y the way it is and just change x to its opposite. All right, so the rule says come on down. All right, so I'm gonna do them one at a time. Negative 2 comes in, take negative 2 and add 6 to it. Negative 2 plus 6, that is 4. Negative 2 plus 6 is 4. Now I bring down the 4 and it says take that and make it a negative. So this is negative 4. Okay, 7. 7 comes in here, take 7 and subtract 8 from it. That's negative 1. Negative 1 comes in here, don't do anything with it, it says. So I write negative 1. M. Okay, 2. 2 comes in here, add 6 to it. 2 plus 6 is 8. Take 8 and take the opposite side. Now it's negative 8. 3. 3 comes in here. 3 minus 8 is negative 5. It says don't do anything with it, so I put negative 5. N. 0. 0 comes in here. We add 6 to it. So that's 6, and change its sign. So I did that, negative 6. 1. 1 comes in here. 1 minus 8 is negative 7. Don't do anything with the y. Okay, last one. I'm going to do negative 4. Negative 4 comes in here. Negative 4 plus 6 is 2. Okay, 2 comes in here. Oop, change its sign. So now it's negative 2. Okay, last one. 5 comes in here. 5 minus 8 is negative 3. Negative 3, don't do anything with it because y is staying the same. All right, so these are my final points. So I'm going to take these and plot them and see if I get this thing slid and then flipped over the y-axis. All right, so it should be slid and then flip this way. Okay. All right, negative 4, negative 1 is right there, and that is L prime. Negative 8, which is all the way here, and negative 5, which is here, is M. Is that right? Okay. Negative 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Negative 8, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep, negative 8, negative 5. Then negative 6. Negative 6 is here, and then negative 7. Negative 7 is here. Okay, so that's N. Okay, and then negative 2, negative 3 is right, it's like right there, and that's P prime. I get my box again, which is good. All right, so it slid and then reflected in the y-axis. Okay, so it slid. The hard part about this is that some of these moved a lot, like moving this all the way down 8 units and then